Hello and welcome to Today in Woburn. I'm Samantha Stone. Can't speak this afternoon, but I'm excited to be here. We have a bunch of things happening across the city. We have so many people that we're going to be talking with. We also have one of our city council candidates on to chat with us. So lots and lots of good stuff to jump into. And of course, we're going to jump into some of the most fun stuff with the rec department. Welcome, Rory.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. You know, I know I've seen you since you've been back from maternity leave, but we haven't chatted officially on the show. So I'm excited to see you back and catch up a little bit.
I'm excited to be back.
So rec programs must be like a whole new thing from a parent lens, right? Like I know you've long been involved with families. Anything like different now that you got mom hat that you're also wearing?
I now see why parents sign their kids up for a lot of different activities. So I can definitely see that. It's definitely given me a little bit of a different perspective. You know, I've loved kids, but having my own opens up a different world and your eyes to a lot of different things that parents, deal with. So it's awesome. Enjoyable. Yeah. He's a little too young for rec programs, but a couple of years from now.
It will fly by, right? They always say, right, the days go slow, but the years go fast.
Yeah, and the nights go very slow.
Yeah. Well, I know we've got a lot of stuff happening across the city. I want to talk about a couple of things in particular. Shamrock Pool, we know is going to be transformed, I think, into kind of a spray park, but I'm not sure if it's happening this summer or what the timing is. Can you give us a quick update on that?
So the pool should open this summer for the last summer. Okay. We're waiting to find out if we get a grant. We're pretty confident that we're going to get this grant. It's a state funded grant. But until we have the funds in hand, obviously we can't do any sort of construction. Typically, I believe that if we do get it, it's something that would happen starting in the fall. So we're going to try and open it for 8 weeks. The only problem that we have right now is finding lifeguards to really staff it. So big lifeguard shortage that, we dealt with last year. We ended up having enough last year to really open up all 3 pools. That pool seemed to be a little popular in the evening. So we might not be fully staffed for it. We might have certain hours where it's only open because the other 2 pools are a little bit more popular. So, but we're hopeful it'll be open for the summer for about 8 weeks. Unless something changes, but as of right now, that is the plan.
Excellent. Well, thank you for letting us know. I think that's important. And if any of you have lifeguard friends, get them over to the rec. It's not a bad summer job.
Great job.
Yeah, I love it. So we also have talked about a skate park. You've done and hosted a number of resident and community input sessions, which is exciting. And I know there were some discussions about, I don't know if decisions are made about where we're going to have it. And I thought we'd just check in with you about the skate park, where we are, where it's going to end up being. Yeah,
so originally we had thought it would be a good location at Library Field. We've moved off of that site. Not really the best location for it. There's just a little bit too much going on there. And we heard from a lot of the residents close by that really, were not happy with it. So we will listen to them. The next site that we've moved towards that we really want to place it at would be at the Shamrock Field that we control, which is behind the Shamrock School, which would be set far back away from a lot of the houses. It's not going to be lit or anything, so it's not going to be a nighttime destination for people, but that would be our next location. As of right now, we're still in the middle of designing it. And then it's something that needs to be funded, but we need to design first before it's funded. We have a lot of other projects that are, on the front burner right now that are more dire in the city than a skate park, although it's definitely a needed project. But obviously the Green Street pool is 40 years old, and that's something that needs to be done first, as well as some other aging playgrounds that need to be done. So the skate park is definitely hopefully something that will be done in the next couple of years. So we're excited for it.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to that. And I know the community will appreciate the feedback we received and adjusted from hearing from folks about that. Which is yard sale time. So I am embarrassed how bad my dressing room was. It was like it was not closed, just to be clear. It was just piled with all the crap that had no other place to go in my house. It ended up there.
Yeah.
And I did a massive purge, and I ended up donating what I was appropriate to donate to one of the churches that's, participating in the yard sale. But it's coming up fast and furious. Tell us where people can get a map and all the goodness.
Yeah, so the last day to put your house on the map was Friday. So we have about 65 people on the map around that. The maps should be finished by Wednesday evening. They'll be online at woburnrec.com or cityofwoburn.com. They will be in the parking lot of City Hall the morning of, and also over at Spence Farm on Wyman Street the morning of, for people to come pick them up. So yeah, it should be a nice day. Luckily, past 2 weekends have been raining, so this Saturday looks like nice weather. There's a lot of things going on in Woburn on Saturday, so you can hit up some yard sales and then head over to Conservation Day over at Hon Pond. So should be a nice, fun weekend in Woburn.
Yeah, Conservation Day is actually really exciting because we've got the there's like a beer garden happening, right? And they're going to have tours of the engine room. Is that right?
Tours of the steam engine room. Then the cleanup, obviously, at the pond in the morning with conservation, the beer garden. And then I believe there'll be a couple people there from Mystic River Watershed to talk about the Herald Park project, which is upcoming the next, it's happening right now, the design especially for the upper portion. So there'll be people there discussing that. So yeah, it'll be a nice day over there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for catching up us. I know there's a ton of other programming for the summer that's happening. There's an excellent and full catalog. Is there anything in particular you want to draw attention to?
No, our brochure is up, registration is open. So take advantage, register as soon as possible. Summer will be starting a little later because school's getting out a little later this year. So, but we'll be running 8 weeks of summer camp. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks so much for joining, Rory.
Thank you. Bye.
Up next, I want to talk about another fabulous community activity, a Know Your Neighbor dinner and dance that's coming up. Chris and Lauren, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Samantha. We're delighted to be here.
Yes, thanks for having us.
So I know that, so first of all, if you are listening and haven't yet been to Know Your Neighbor dinners, no more excuses, go to this one. They are a pleasure and they are free and they are an amazing community activity that's happening. We just have wonderful people in our community who are spurred and helping bring us together. So I know this one is happening at the Senior Center. Lauren, tell us a little bit about how it will be set up and what it will look like.
Sure. So Chris approached Marie and I and, asked if we would host one of their events. And I think we have a really good spot to do it at. Our building is super accessible. It's in, towards North Woburn, which I think is nice that some of these events have been, in different spots in the city. But yeah, as I was saying, the building itself is super accessible for anybody looking to come up here. We're hoping that a lot of our current members come and kind of show off what we do here on a daily basis, and then also attract some new people that might be a little nervous to attend.
That's fantastic. So Chris, you said magic words: food, art, and dance, I think,
Right.
when we last spoke. So
That's
this
right.
is a lot. This is awesome. Tell us about
I mean,
it.
is there anything else in life? I mean, this is going to be another multicultural event, and we're doing outreach to all communities in the city, and we're delighted to be partnering with Lauren and Marie Lindblom. This event, again, will have wonderful food featuring Mrs. Verona's legendary fried chicken. We have several donations coming from various restaurants and food vendors in the city. We're going to have more home fried potatoes than we can possibly eat. We've got vegetables coming. Panera Bread is going to be offering us a selection of bagels and wonderful breads and beverages. And we've asked folks to bring desserts. And I think we're going to have probably a truckload of desserts coming from every corner of the city. We're also really thrilled to be hosting and featuring a senior arts and crafts exhibit, which was very exciting when we began to plan this with Lauren. I learned that the art community, the arts and crafts community at the senior center is just thriving, and they're doing beautiful work. We have visual art, fine art, we have some wood crafters, we have knitters, we have, I mean, it's just an extraordinary, it's really an art colony in and of itself. And then we reached out to our friends at Cadence, Latin and Ballroom Dance Studio, which is in Woburn. And they're going to be doing a Latin dance workshop. So we hope everybody will come and bring their dancing shoes. Samantha.
Well,
includes you,
I'm
Samantha.
not able to do in-person things right now, but that's probably to everybody's benefit because I have 2 left feet. But I want to see all the pictures. I can't wait. That sounds super, super fun. Actually, I'll be sad to miss it. I love that. So, Lauren, remind us what time. I know you have ample parking and it's easy to get there because we hosted a blood drive. Was the last time I was there. So tell us about what time people can show up.
2 to 5. Just wanted
And
to
it's on the
triple
7th,
check.
right? May 7th.
Say that one. Yep, May 7th, Sunday, May 7th, here at the senior center. We're at 144 School Street. There's tons of parking.
Yes.
And we have lots of handicap spots too, for those that need that.
And should we mention, Lauren, we have some transportation for seniors.
Yep.
If
So
seniors need us to come and pick you up, we are ready to come and pick you up.
Yep. So we'll be running one of our vans that day for any seniors in Woburn that need a ride. They should call us definitely probably by Thursday to let us know and make sure we have spots on the van available. But yeah, one of our drivers is going to be available to pick folks up and bring them here, which is great.
That is an extra bonus. So thank you for doing it. Thank you so much for joining us. This sounds like a super fun activity. I can't wait to see all the pictures in here about all the food that I missed. Next up, Joey and Zeke, I would love to chat with you guys.
I'd love to chat with you too, Samantha.
Welcome. You have had a very busy season, the 2 of you. How did you get involved in announcing games?
I mean, I can start and say I had a big interest in and passion in announcing and commentating basketball and football and all sports in general. So me and Joey approached our beloved media center director or teacher, Anthony, and we went to him and asked him, and he welcomed us with open arms and got us into everything.
That's awesome. So Joey, did you say, hey, I'm along for the ride, or did Zeke drag you in and say, I want to partner?
No, I think it was a similar passion between the 2 of us. And as Zeke mentioned with the media center, we had both done stuff with Anthony as well. And I had just finished his first TV production class the year before. And I had mentioned just in regular conversation that I had this passion for sports broadcasting. And the more practice I can get with it at the local setting is nothing but good.
It is such a treat to be able to do that. So I'm going to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Zeke. Tell me what your favorite play of the season was. The thing that just you thought was the most exciting.
I mean, the first question that goes into my head is either basketball or football, because they were both so fun to watch. And I'd probably have to go with basketball because the girls' basketball team went all the way to the semifinals, and it was just a treat to be able to commentate and announce them. And it had to be the semifinal game. Woburn Public Media Center gave us the privilege to travel and commentate all the way at Newton South High School. And I had to say, I think it was McKenna Morrison hit a big 3 to tie the game in that one. And that was just, I think when I was announcing, I stood up and jumped while I was announcing. And it was just such a fun moment.
That's going to be hard to top. Joey, you have to tell me your favorite moment, but it can't be the same one. I'm going to put you on the spot.
I was going to say that Newton South semifinal game was just an amazing experience overall, but I'll head over to football for another great moment throughout the sports season so far. There was a game, I believe, against Belmont at one point in this season where the Tanners defense went back-to-back possessions with interceptions, and then converted those into points on the offensive end, which I think ignited the crowd and ignited Zeke and I to have plenty of energy heading into the rest of that game.
That sounds amazing. So, Joey, I want you to help me. I am terrible with names. It's ironic because I host this show, but I get great anxiety every time when there's someone I haven't met and I don't know their name very well. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess it up because I care so much about, referring to people the way they like to be referred to. Joey, how do you keep track of pronunciations for names? Because these are, teammates that are from other schools. You won't even maybe have seen it beforehand.
Pronunciations are definitely one of the more difficult things that Zeke and I have to learn throughout prepping for a game. But luckily, we'll be able to look down at the rosters for the games for either side. And then, especially for football, we would take the time that Friday afternoon to learn about the opponents, and the same for basketball as well, to learn who you might be talking about most as one of the better players of the team. And I think even some of the other cities also have some media presence when it comes to sports. So being able to watch them and learn about their players is a great avenue.
I love it. Zeke, what advice would you give someone else who might want to have some interest in trying this out and practicing being a sports announcer and get some experience? You guys are like old pros now. So what advice would you give?
Well, I mean, old pros is really crazy considering that it's barely been like 7 months. But it's interesting that you also mentioned that because we're seniors next year. So this is kind of going to be our job next year. So I would just say there's a lot of people that love sports and love talking about sports, knowing a lot of my family, knowing a lot of my friends. And if you love talking about sports and you love sports in general, I'm sure you'd love doing something like this. And it takes a lot of knowledge and vocabulary and all that stuff. But if you have the courage, have the bravery, go for it, because it's only fun. It's no, the first few games are stressful and you might get a little bit of anxiety, but once you get into it, it's just so much fun. It's just a privilege to commentate these games every night.
I think that's great advice. I try and remind myself when I mess up, when I say something on this show, that I should just relax and have fun and enjoy it. And those are always the best discussions. Thank you both for joining us and for the awesome work you've done this season. It's not easy. And I'm really excited to hear that you guys will be continuing it next year.
Thank you so much for having us, Samantha.
Yeah, my pleasure. Next up, we're going to talk about Sean's Spring Fling. So Jack, welcome. I'm excited to have you here to talk about a really awesome fundraiser for a scholarship that's coming up. Tell us a little bit about how the donations and the funds raised will be used for the Spring Fling.
Well, my aunt and uncle, Jeff and Liz Dillon, set up this scholarship in memory of their son, Sean, who passed away last July. And he was a Malden police officer. And ever since he was knee high, that's what he wanted to do, was be a police officer. So they've set up this memorial scholarship, and it's going to kick off this year. And we're starting it out with a fundraiser on May 20th at the Woburn Elks. And people can, I can give my aunt's phone number for people. It's 339-927-7245. You can call and reserve tickets or reserve a table, or you can just show up the evening of May 20th at the Woburn Elks and buy a ticket at the door. Tickets are $35, and we considered that appropriate considering a lot of fundraisers nowadays are $50 or more. So, and all the proceeds, every single penny is going to go towards a scholarship in memory of Sean's name to a male or female student at Woburn High who wants to pursue a career in not so much, right now we have it strictly as a police officer, but I think what they'll do after this year is they'll kind of span it out a little bit to include criminal justice, because we know that's a wide range of career opportunities there. So, we're looking forward to a big crowd. We've already got the information out there, and the feedback we've received from people has been tremendous. So we're looking forward to a good night.
Well, this is an amazing way to honor Sean and the family, and Liz and Jeff do so much in our community. And so I'm really excited to share this with folks so they can participate. I know we've had lots of people asking about it. The scholarship, is it open this year? I know that these funds will probably fund next year's, but for students who are applying, they've already applied for this year's scholarship? Is that correct?
So I do know that they were going to reach out to the high school again today to extend the deadline a little bit. Because I think what had happened is when you put parameters on a scholarship, like I mentioned, police officer, a lot of kids may be going to school for criminal justice where, this year we said police officer because that's what Sean's pride and joy was. So I know Jeff and Liz have plans to contact the high school today to say, let's see if we can extend the deadline a little bit, get a few more applicants in the pool, because yes, they would certainly like to give or start giving this year.
That's amazing. Jack, thank you so much for joining me. This is an amazing way to honor the family and Sean's memory. And also I know will be a good time because so much care is being put into planning the event. So I hope folks will follow up. Lauren will make sure that all the contact information is on the screen for anybody who wants to reach out.
Great. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you so much. And Rob, thanks for joining me. I want to appreciate your time here today and have a nice conversation about the work that you do for our community and your interest in the city councilor at large position.
Thank you very much for having me, Samantha. I want to thank you and just everyone that's going to take the time to watch the interview. I'm excited about the race and I look forward to connecting with the residents of Woburn throughout the campaign and also serving the community.
So in your work in the construction company that you're part of, you do a lot in the community already. I've seen lots of things. I'm sure I don't know everything, but I've seen, ice cream trucks and backpacks are back to school and scholarship programs and all kinds of things. This city councilor at large is, another bigger time commitment, certainly to the city. Tell us a little bit of what excited you and motivated you to want to jump in.
So first, to address the events that I throw. I do that, I throw those events in an attempt to bring the community together and to bring joy to some of the children. There's nothing like seeing joy on their face when you're giving them an ice cream or a backpack with school supplies. And also just to provide support to some of the families. Just
for the record, Rob, my face lights up with ice cream too. So just so you know, if you need a smile in exchange for ice cream, we can arrange that.
It's open to kids and adults. So if you want an ice cream too, you're more than welcome. And just to provide support to some of the families that are in need, because growing up myself, I grew up, not doing very well. So to help back and to give back to the community that has supported me is top of my list. But my decision to run for city council stems from, one, my love for the city, but two, the decision by my wife and I to call Woburn our home permanently, roughly about 10 years ago. I have two children, Ella and Olivia. Ella is at the Goodyear Elementary School, and Olivia, Liv, will be going to the Goodyear next year. The city is growing, the city is changing, it's transforming. I want to be part of how we proceed and make the city better. I want to be part of the decisions that need to be made to have that happen. And I believe my background, both running my business and being in the public and private sector, and my personality will be a positive impact on the council and will bring, it will be a good addition to the city council as well.
So one of the things you just talked about was sort of wanting to move Woburn forward and contributing to what, as we continue to evolve as a city. What is sort of some of the vision you have for the things that we should be focused on?
Sure. So the city, I love the city. The city's great. I think there's a lot of really good things that you can mention about the city, but just like any other city, there's things that need to be improved on. Woburn has a lot of development within the city. Development is needed. It's a way to keep our tax liability, our tax burden low, which is it's one of the best things about, well, not one of the best, but it's a great thing about Woburn. But I think we need to take a common sense approach to building, right? And think about some of the secondary impacts of building, such as, traffic and the impact on our school department, and also our city departments in general. And my background in building, I think, is a great addition to the city and can kind of really provide some valuable feedback into how to navigate that and kind of see things that might need to be altered and adjusted, but working with those individuals that are going to be building, because that's inevitable, right? So also there's other things that I think we need to focus on. I think infrastructure is a big one. A couple random examples are, double poles within the city, addressing those. Upgrades to our firehouses.
I'm going to stop you. What do you mean double poles?
So for utilities, usually when a utility pole breaks, whether it's just old or through a car hitting it, some of the utility companies will just add another pole as a support, and those should be, one, they're unsightly, right? But two, it's not meant to be permanent. So addressing things like that, also addressing things such as, again, upgrades to our firehouses and our school buildings and our streets. I think just focusing on infrastructure and developing a great plan to address some of these things, I think would make things a lot easier and put people at ease, because they can see a plan in place to address some of these things. Lastly, fostering collaboration or improving collaboration within city departments to provide a more seamless and smoother experience for the residents of Woburn.
So I want to talk a little bit about building permits, because obviously this is your business and background, which makes you have an area of expertise that's highly valuable to us, to the city. It also could potentially provide some conflict occasionally. So rather than people guess and conjecture and things, why don't we just talk, sort of straight on about it? Tell us about how you will make sure that there's not a conflict of interest, and how you vote and participate in the process and use your expertise, knowing that you run a construction business.
Sure. So first and foremost, my integrity is one of my most important values, right? So if I were ever to see an instance where I thought there was a potential conflict of interest, I would recuse myself from voting or the situation, right? And I think other city councils have done that in the past too. But in general, the city council, when it comes to building permits, the city council reviews applications for non 1 and 2 family projects by way of the special permit process. Toro Construction is exclusively a residential contractor and would not really be expected to have any permits or petitions before the city council. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, I've developed a great relationship with Woburn Inspectional Services. It's ran by a great group of extremely professional individuals that have the highest degree of integrity. So neither myself nor Tom or Eric, the inspector, would there be any potential conflict, and you'd be no understanding or favoritism as a result of my position. It would be, in my opinion, business as usual.
Great. Thank you for that. I just wanted to sort of get it out in the air. I know you do mostly residential work, so it probably wouldn't apply, but I'm not sure everybody knows that about your business or what really comes in front of city council. So appreciate you, addressing that concern that some folks have raised. One of the things about alderman at large is that you're actually responsible to represent the entire city, not a particular ward. That doesn't make it necessarily easier or harder, but it makes it different. How are you getting to know the various communities around outside, not just the neighborhood that you live in, and making sure that you're abreast and aware of how you can best serve?
So one of the decisions that I went back and forth with was to either run for city council at large or my ward 2. The decision was at large because I have a bigger contact group. I know a lot more people throughout the whole community as opposed to just my ward. And that's a mix of both my community involvement, both personally and professionally. Personally, as a member of the Woburn Host Lions Club, and also a member of the Commission on Disability. Also through Toro Construction with the events that we've talked about briefly, I've developed a great network of people throughout the city. So in addition to interacting with them and keeping up with them, I've been attending some of the events recently to kind of start connecting with more people. I started holding signs over the weekend. We were over in Four Corners holding signs. I'll be doing that every so often. People will start seeing me walking the neighborhoods with my wife and 2 children as time goes on. Try to get to as many neighborhoods as possible. There's only one of me, but I'm going to try my best. I also plan on holding meet and greets at places like maybe Boston King Coffee or Studio Cafe, where I'll be there for an hour or two having a cup of coffee, and people can come down and we can chat, and I can hear their concerns on how they think, how they see their vision for Woburn, right? So I can represent them. I'm also putting the final touches on my campaign kickoff event, which is May 23rd at the Country Club. That's going to be open to anyone to swing by, introduce themselves, chat for a few minutes. I'd love for people to come to that. And lastly, I'm always available if someone wanted to reach out to me directly through email. My email is electroberttoro, Toro @gmail.com. People can always reach out. I'll respond. We can chat via phone. I'd love to hear from people.
Great. Thank you for that information. This sounds like a lot of great opportunities for people to say hello. I want to talk about your work on the Commissions for Disability, because I'll be honest, I had totally forgotten that you had done that. And so tell me a little bit about what that experience has been like, what it's taught you about working in city, in city work in Woburn, and what lessons you learned and are going to take into this role should you be elected.
Sure. The commission is great. I feel like I was asked to be on the commission partially because of my building background, my construction background, to kind of give that aspect of things. The commission is great. The members are fantastic, very knowledgeable, and take the disability, the commission very seriously. It's great. We discuss, matters brought before us, projects that are coming, and kind of address ADA compliance. We've done this mostly through Zoom because it's been primarily during COVID. We haven't really been back in person, but it's great. It's been great. It kind of opens your eyes to some of the concerns in the city with regards to handicap or disability, and kind of addressing some of those needs of those, and doing our best to help facilitate and passing along to the correct department to ensure their services or their needs and wants are met as well.
So I know that the commission responds to complaints or concerns that are raised. That's certainly a really important function. I'm asking this sincerely because I don't know much about the charter of the commission. Is it also, are you advocating and championing like more accessible playgrounds or some of the other things that we know we've talked about across the city and are working on, or is that outside the scope of what this commission does?
So we do have projects that are brought before us. So for instance, Rory, who is on before us, there was discussions with the splash park and kind of questions in regards to accessibility. So we do get requests to review things and kind of see how accessible it is. We just provide suggestions and feedback for the most part. Again, the commission was relatively silent for, pretty much a good portion of time prior to it coming or starting back up. I would say, I think I was put on the commission in December of 2020. So let's just say beginning of 2021. Prior to that, for how long, I'm not sure. There wasn't really much going on. So we're really just starting to get going again. Even though we've been going for about 2 years, it's been during COVID, there's not a lot going on. So now it's really starting to ramp up, right? So it'll be interesting to see how the commission really factors into the city and what role it plays as time goes on.
In our charter, are you, just this is for you personally, are you able to serve in 2 positions? Are you able to serve on city council and stay on the commission, or would someone else have to take that seat on the commission?
Correct. I think I would have to vacate my position on the commission.
That's really helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that because I have all these questions and I'm always curious and I don't always go digging into the paper. I just
Yeah.
like to ask questions and you guys get to educate me and the whole community. So that makes it easy. One of the really probably, I should say probably the most important role, but there's two very visible roles, I should say, that City Council has. So one of those very visible roles is around representative leadership, right? Representing the community, bringing people together, attending events in general and doing things. And we've talked a little bit about that. Another really visible and critically important role of City Council is basically approving the budget. I mean, at the end of the day, the mayor's office presents a budget, but it doesn't go anywhere unless City Council says, yep, we're on board with that. And so tell me a little bit about how you see the role of City Councilor at large in that budgeting process.
So it's a great question. I think first and foremost, the authority that the City Council has needs some adjustment because as it stands now, the city charter limits the City Council's authority regarding budgets, and essentially the council can approve a budget as submitted or cut specific line items. There are situations if there are specific programs that aren't included or referenced in a budget, the City Council can vote to include those and then therefore increase the budget by that amount. But that's really the majority of what they can do if they wanted to increase it, right? But as a city councilor, my job is to have the discussions with the different departments as time goes on throughout the year to ensure that I am knowledgeable as to what their needs are. So when budget time comes and we're looking at the budget, I can make recommendations, suggestions, and decisions based on all possible information. My job is to balance the needs of each department with the best interests of Woburn and the citizens or the residents of Woburn. My opinion, my background is great for this. I deal with budgets on a daily basis with my business, different line items, what needs to be increased, how do we be more efficient here? It comes second nature to me. So as a city council, I think the big thing is you just need to stay in tune and make sure you're having these open lines of communications with these different departments. So when you're getting these budgets and you have these questions, you can get them addressed and you can make the decisions that need to be made. That again, give the resources to these different departments that they need, but again, balancing that with the best interests of the city, and being fiscally responsible.
So you said, I think that's very helpful. And you said something that I just want to circle back and make sure I didn't misunderstand, which is you had said that you felt like some of the authority of City Council related to budgeting needs to be addressed, and our charter doesn't address all the things. What things would you change? And recognizing that is not something that would happen quickly. We've looked at charter changes in the past, but I think it'd be helpful for voters to understand sort of your philosophy on these things.
I just think having a little bit more leeway to, if they wanted to, I'm not saying this would happen, right? But if they wanted to increase a budget of a specific item that's already included in the actual budget, right? To get that authority to do so, as opposed to only being able to do so if that program wasn't included in the first place. I think that's the main focus, I think. And then that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. I appreciate that. I know that budgeting is always a complex thing and it's very hard, right? Because one of the things that is a charter is designed to do is the checks and balances across the city. And there's an awful lot of people, particularly in an at-large position where you're not just representing a specific ward group, but others. So one of the things that you said that I love is I really believe in cross-functional collaboration, and I really believe in understanding things. It doesn't mean you always have to agree with anybody, but to understand the other person's point of view is critical, I think, to making good decisions. 100%. I'm also sensitive to the fact that there's multiple wards and 2 city councilors at large. And so how do we facilitate the process so that you have that information you need without the department heads having to have 9 different, meetings that are happening and things like that? Is there something inherent in how city council meetings are run or the budget process? And you may not have details on this, but I'd love to get inside your head a little, because you're a project manager at heart, right? Sort of,
Yeah.
you do, and I've done enough construction on my home. My husband's in construction. Like, I can see the wheels turning. If you have thoughts and ideas of what might help facilitate that.
Absolutely. You know, and this is just opinion. I don't know if the city council truly does this. I've started to attend some of the city council meetings to see how the inner workings are handled. But, you know, I think if, for instance, we were discussing the budget for Department X, it would be nice to maybe give that department head a heads up. And so if they wanted to attend the meeting, right, why not have them there to attend this meeting? So if there's questions, they can potentially answer them on the spot, or at least give some information, right? Because we all know government doesn't work very fast, right? So if we can help facilitate that and make it a little bit more efficient by notifying these individuals, it's as simple as an email or a phone call. Hey, we're going to be discussing the budget. Then great. Why not? Why not have them there so we can facilitate an open conversation with the understanding that we all want what's best for the community.
That's great. Thank you for that. Before I let you go, what else would you like voters to know about you and how you will approach this position?
So there's a bunch. We could sit here all day. I would love to tell everybody.
Well, we'll have, as we get closer to elections, I definitely want to, every candidate will have another opportunity to come back again and chat. So we'll definitely have another chance to do that.
Awesome. I guess, you know, I want the voters of Woburn to know that I promise throughout my time as city councilor at large, if I was elected, that I will do my best for the city, and I will always have the best interest of Woburn in my mind. I will also be available to people. I know that's an issue, a gripe that some people have had, and not having accessibility to some of their elected officials. I will be available to people and I will represent them. I think my background, my family dynamic, and my personality, as I mentioned before, can really benefit the city council. I think I have the ability to help operate and navigate through the red tape of some of the government processes and foster the collaboration that's needed to make government more efficient. You know, my wife is also a public school teacher. So I also have experience through her in the educational field. And I value the school department and have the utmost respect for them and really understand the value of education.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll make sure that people know all those dates and places that you talked about. They'll have that available to on the screen. And Woburn, as always, please continue to take good care of each other.